In this video, I will show you how to find the slope, length, and midpoint of a segment. The slope formula goes like this. Basically, y minus y over x minus x. So looking at the y values, I see -5 and -14. So I have -5 minus -14. And then I'll do x minus x, so that's going to be 7 minus 13. Long ago, we learned that if you have minus a negative, that is going to be addition. So that means we're actually going to have 9 over -6. Now, that's going to reduce down to -3 over 2. So that's how you do the slope. Now, I have taught two different methods to find the length of a segment. Better scroll back up. One way to find the length of a segment is to do the Pythagorean Theorem. So I think I'll show that first. All right, if you want to do the Pythagorean Theorem, just draw a little model of your segment. It doesn't matter if it's even sloping the right way or anything like that, but make a right triangle out of it. Okay, so that way you have a horizontal section and a vertical section because we are going to do the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, now look at the x values of your segment. I've got 13 and I've got 7. How far apart are those? 13 and 7, those are 6 apart. They're 6 away from each other. So that tells me that the horizontal portion is going to be 6. Next, look at the y values. Okay, I've got -14 and -5. How far apart are those? Well, those are 9 away from each other. Those are 9 apart. So if I want to find the hypotenuse, I can now just do the Pythagorean Theorem. So I can do c squared is equal to 9 squared plus 6 squared. And then I'll wind up taking the square root of both sides. And so that will give me the length of the segment. Okay, 3 radical 13, that's pretty simplified. Let me do just the part under the radical. So if I have 9 squared plus 6 squared, okay, that's 117. So I have radical 117. Okay, now if I want a decimal, and if I want a decimal, I will take the square root of 117. There's that 3 radical 13 I saw a moment ago. But that's going to be 10.8. So approximately 10.8. Okay, so that is the length of the segment. So that's one way to do it. Just use the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, the other way is to use the distance formula. I might just as easily have called it the length formula. Okay, and look, here's the distance formula right here. So this is what I'm going to be doing. All right, so that means that the length of GH, which if I just write GH with no segment symbol, it means the length of GH is going to equal the square root of. And then I will do x minus x. So that's going to be 7 minus 13 squared. And then next comes y minus y. So that'll be -5 minus -14. -5 minus -14 squared. Okay, and then I can use a calculator for that. So if I do the square root of And I really can just type all this in just the way I wrote it if I wanted to. You know, you can do as much of this by hand as you feel like doing. Okay, but I'm just going to demonstrate for you that your calculator can do it all. -5 minus -14 squared. Okay, so that's the 3 radical 13 I was getting before. Okay, if I hit the toggle key, I get the decimal 10.8, which of course is what we got by doing it the other way. So there's 2 different ways of finding the length. Now, if I want to find the midpoint, literally the point that's in the middle of the segment, basically I'm going to do the average of the x's and the average of the y's. All right, I don't think they give us a formula for that. So here it is. The midpoint is x plus x divided by 2. All right, it's the average of the x's. And then y plus y divided by 2. It's the average of the y's. Okay, so for the x's, I have 13 and 7. So that's going to be 13 plus 7 divided by 2. Now for the y's, that's -14 and -5. Divided by 2. Okay, so what is that going to be? So this is going to be 20 divided by 2 and -19 divided by 2. Okay, so for the midpoint, that's going to give me 10, comma, -9.5. All right, so there's your midpoint. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.